Good morning, good-looking people, and you're good-looking because you're always looking, and of course, you are finding the good in everything and in everybody. Hope you're well. Hope you had a nice weekend. Today is the 12th of Shevat, and as it is customary, the smaller the Hayom, the more there is to explain, which is one of those days. So let's keep it simple today. Ideally, our goal here is to perform and complete Torah and mitzvahs on a daily basis. And inside of every Jew, we have what we call the Pintel Yid, which is a piece of God. And this piece of God that's inside of us is infinite, because God is infinite, and we have a piece of God that's within us. That piece is also infinite. Now the question is, how do we actually connect to this piece of God inside of us, this infinite piece of God, which connects us to God for us to be on fire and to get things done? So today's Hayom is talking about there are two different parts of our body. Two things are happening. There's an intellectual side where we're very sophisticated and rational and thinking, which is Chabad, which stands for Chachma, Bina, and Das, which is the school of thought and understanding and knowledge. And then there's this other part, which is the emotions, which we call Chagas, which stands for Chesed, Gevura, and Tiferes, which are all different types of attributes. Now, depending on what we're doing, which is what is being activated. So ideally, when we're davening and we're doing mitzvahs, we want to have this fire and this passion, and all these emotional traits are kicking, and things are going on. At the same time, we also have this other side of us, which is the intellectual side, that as we're learning and as we're trying to figure things out, there's also this intellectual side. The idea of today's Hayom is a fusion of both together. That when we get the emotions kicking and we also get the intellectual side together, that's what allows us to kick off and get connected to this piece of God within us, which with that, we are now connected to higher power, to God itself, which is higher than both the emotions and the intellectual side. So ideally, we're trying to get to that higher connection. And why that's important is because in everything that we do every day, we're connecting to God. From the beginning in the morning, like we talked yesterday about Moda'ani, just getting up and thanking Hashem for who we are and what we have, to being involved in davening, to going into the office and working and making blessings on our food. Everything that we're doing, we're trying to connect to God in a different way. But having these two different sides, these two different angles, both the intellectual side and the side of passion and emotions connecting, allows us to connect to God in a different way. And that ultimately allows us to connect to that piece of God that's within us. I hope I did okay there. Let's read the Hayom inside, and then we'll give you a little bit more for the message of the day. So for the 12th of Shevat, intellect and emotional enthusiasm are two distant realms. One is cool and settled, and the other is seething and frantic, which means more like a wild energy. Man's task is to fuse these two realms into one. At that point, this energy is transformed into an aspiration, and the intellect becomes a guide for a life of divine service and action. So, summing up, first of all, the connection to today. In today's Chumash, we're learning about how the Egyptians are now chasing the Jews in the desert. They've come to the water. They don't have a place to go. If they go any further, they're in the water. Behind them is the Egyptians, and they're panicking. They're getting anxious. And it says they lifted their eyes. And Moshe Rabbeinu yells at them. I don't know if the word is yells. He tells them, relax, stand, take your place, and you will see the redemption. You'll see the salvation of God. Hisyatzvu ru'as as Yeshua's Hashem. You'll see this salvation. So there was a lot of emotions going on. Yet Moshe is telling them to relax and to see this salvation, which is more the intellectual approach. So this is what's inspiring this Hayom Yom of the day. And ultimately, the the message of the day is that the goal is to connect both our emotional side and our intellectual side. And by doing that, when we connect to God, we'll have a better effect in all our daily activities. That as we're involved in daily items, certain things will be taking effect. Sometimes we're not as passionate, and sometimes we're very passionate. Sometimes we're intellectual, sometimes we're not as intellectual. But together, in acknowledging that both sides exist and fusing them together, that's what's going to help us in a greater service of God. And that service will connect us to God itself, which is higher than both these emotions, which are just tools. They are just tools. The emotions and the intellectual side, both of these are just tools to help us to connect to God. Have a wonderful day. Have a successful week. Have a week full of passion and fire and energy, as well as intellectualization to think more as we're doing things as well. Have a great day. We'll talk more tomorrow.